because I do want to, pay our respects by covering the killing of someone that just an outpouring of yes, just an outpouring of condolences, and just an outpouring of just people talking and remembering Refaat. And I just want to just give him the proper respect of just at least speaking about it. It could be a touchy subject. I know for me, I had to look at all of his stuff before I came here, so I wouldn't get as emotional as I don't want to be on here tearing up, because this person was he was a very genuine person. That's what's always, like, the genuine ones are the ones that's taken first, and he was definitely just one of the just very genuine people, and you can just radiate it through the screen. For me, through the screen, I never had a chance to meet him in person. So I do just want to just briefly, just for those that may not have heard Democracy Now!, kind of put together a little 6-minute segment. I'll play maybe 90 seconds of it just so we can, for those that don't know, hear the news and who he is, if you don't know exactly who Refaat is. So here goes. Let's listen to the first maybe 90 seconds of this here.
Earlier this week, an Israeli airstrike in Gaza City killed the acclaimed Palestinian academic and activist Refaat Alareer, along with his brother, his sister, and 4 of his nieces. For more than 16 years, Alareer worked as a professor of English literature at the Islamic University of Gaza, where he taught Shakespeare and other subjects. Refaat Alareer was a father of 6 and a mentor to many young Palestinian writers and journalists. He also co-founded the organization We Are Not Numbers. He authored dozens of stories and poems about life under Israeli occupation in Gaza. In a few minutes, we'll speak to one of his friends. But first, I want to return to Refaat Alareer in his own words. He's spoken to us several times. This is October 10th. As he spoke to Democracy Now!, Israeli strikes rattled his family's home in Gaza City.
What is happening in Gaza is complete and utter extermination of the non-Jewish population in occupied Palestine. As you mentioned, Israel ordered a medieval hermetic siege from air and sea. Israel has also just bombed the only way out through Egypt, the Rafah crossing. The only way out is for what's happening, what we are foreseeing is slow starvation, slow genocide. Maybe Israel is going to push us all into the sea. And I think what is making it even more difficult than before is that the whole world, not even lip service, all American and European countries and politicians are rushing to pledge allegiance to Israel and to Netanyahu. Israeli American politicians, American presidential hopefuls are literally calling for genocide. American mainstream media is not pushing back against Israeli officials, calling for the collateral damage of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians in Gaza. Why is this happening? Because we refuse to live under occupation. We refuse to live in total submission. We want.
I do want to pause there. This is October 10th, so that's just under 2 months from now, where he went on Democracy Now! And just understand, like, just doing interviews like this puts him in danger, or put him in danger. I'll put it that way. And he still did, and I'll get to some of his writings where he spoke about, the very likelihood or the possibility, or it's plausible that he would be killed, and he said he wanted to stay there with his people to the end, and that is something that is truly admirable. The doctors in Gaza, a lot of them have a lot of the same sort of sentiments, and we'll pause here, and I will let you, if you have any words you want to say, any sort of memories you want to recall of him that you want to share with us. If you have any, take this opportunity. Then I'll get back. I do want to show a couple of other videos of him speaking just as a remembrance, and then we'll move into some more Palestinian. We're not really going away from the issue. We're just inserting the broader topic. But what are your, what do you have to say about what's happening or what has happened to him and his work? And what do you have to say about just him, just like him, the person?
Well, and I really appreciate you so graciously being like, okay, let's take that long story and get to Refaat, because you're absolutely right. And maybe I was talking so much because it's easier to do that than think about Refaat, because it's weird, man. Like, it's a weird feeling, this feeling, because not that any of this is about me. I'm just trying to sort of talk through how I'm coming to this right now. Like, again, everyone who's trying to do the work we were just talking about in this media space, in this moment, when this horror is happening right now, as we speak, relentlessly, without stop. We've been trying to serve that mission that we talked about. We've been trying to connect with people who are there on the front lines of struggle and slaughter, and talk and get their stories to the world, and like get people off the sidelines and get them to do something to stop this. And so like everyone else, like, I was doing my best to just, amidst the situation, like what do? You drop into someone's DMs and who's in Gaza City, and
Right.
like that's such a bizarre position to be in, but like you try to do it with as much care but also brevity as you can, just saying like, if you don't have to say anything about this, but if we can get your story out there, like, here's how you could share it with us. Here's what we've been putting out there, just sending them reminders that, like, we're, people are rising up, right? That's what we're trying to share every week at The Real News. Like, we've done these great documentary reports of like the marches in London. I was there in DC a month ago amidst the largest pro-Palestine march in US history, like talking to the people who were there about why they were there. And it was an incredible thing to see, again, like just regular people say, like, again, descending on DC, saying like, no to this, we cannot allow this. This is unbearable as a human race to let this go on. We need to step in and do something, especially in our goddamn country, which is like making it all possible and funding it and rubber stamping it. And amidst all of that, like, I've managed to connect with a few folks there in Palestine, in Gaza, in the West Bank, people of Palestinian descent, refugees, and trying as best as we can to like get these stories out there with my colleagues at The Real News. Mark Steiner's done incredible work on this. Chris Hedges has done great analysis with people who are like y'all, doing that, bringing that context and information, and helping people process it. So we're trying, and then me and others on our staff trying to show the people who are resisting, the unions who are taking action and blockading weapons manufacturers that are supplying Israel's military in the UK, or blocking shipments of Israel cargo in Australia, or even healthcare workers who are leading like candlelight vigils for slain colleagues in Gaza. Like, working people are rising up, and Refaat could see that. And I think it was a beautiful thing. It's been a beautiful thing over the past 24 hours to see so many people who have that connection to Refaat that I did, which was I did not have a deep connection to Refaat, but I did communicate with him a couple of times. And like, that feels special to me. I'm not going to pretend it, was a long-term friendship, but even just getting to share something with him and seeing his react to it, and wanting to do an interview if and when it was ever safe or possible to do so. And then he's gone. He's just gone, and people are sharing stories with how much he changed their worldview because they followed him on Twitter. And how much he would encourage other writers because he himself is a born writer and storyteller and a creative writing teacher or professor and a literature scholar. Like, you know, if I may, I was going to read quickly from something he wrote.
Yeah, absolutely.
That it just really was so beautiful. But he was that you could see that in the connections that people are sharing on social media right now, that he was always encouraging other people to share their stories with the world and with him. He wanted people to hear Palestinian stories, which is, you know, like why he was involved in so much of the work that he did, including We Are Not Numbers. You know, he was an incredible human being. Not that like you need to be an incredible human being for your life to matter. In this slaughter. Every life lost is precious and unbearable. But Refaat is just like another one of those reminders of that great was it Jeffrey Sachs? I'm forgetting the genesis of the quote, but it's the one where it's like, I'm less interested in the folds and curves of Einstein's brain than I am in the certainty that people just like him have lived and died slaving away in fields and mines across the world. Refaat is like another reminder of that, just like, you know, from the slaves who built Egypt to, you know, like the people living in the open air prison of Gaza up until now. Like there is always that potential for this kind of beauty and brilliance and humanity that Refaat embodied, and that anyone who knew him or talked to him or reads his writing or listens to him can sense. You know, and I just felt that in my own tiny way. And I'm feeling like, you know, just like what a tremendous loss to humanity this is, not only Refaat, but all of that life that is being lost, all of that humanity that we are losing by letting this happen. And I just wanted to like shut up myself and for folks watching and listening, like kind of take it back to Rafat's words in his own words, like like you were playing in the Democracy Now! Segment. So our friends at In These Times just republished this beautiful piece that Refaat wrote for them in August of 2022. It's called In the Face of Lifelong Terror, Gaza Speaks Truth to Power. And I just wanted to sort of like take us back to Refaat in his own words about, you know, there's been so much over the past month and a half of like, where did this all start, you know, like who's the real enemy here, and you know, like it's just, if you watch corporate media, it's just like post 9/11 all over again. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
and here's Refaat describing the life of people in Gaza well before October 7th, right? This is the daily reality of people, Refaat's people, our people who are living in these conditions. And Refaat writes, quote, "Early in my life, I learned one main thing about the Israeli occupation. The best course of action, whether or not you throw stones, is to run when you see soldiers, because who they target is largely arbitrary. Even if you go about your life in a peaceful way, minding your own business, if soldiers catch you, they will beat you up or worse, arrest you, which is why Israel has killed a lot more civilians than freedom fighters. I've never been caught in my life. I was shot 3 times with rubber-coated metal bullets and was beaten only when the soldiers stormed our home. They slapped me and my brother and my cousins dozens of times because when they checked, our hearts were racing, a sign we were running and possibly throwing stones. We were between 8 and 11 years old then. Our hearts always raced. As I grew into a proud stone thrower at the age of 12, the thing I feared most was my dad's wrath. He worked in Israel as a laborer, and if he had caught me throwing stones, he would have rebuked me. My dad was not heartless or abusive. He just knew that if the Israeli forces had caught me, he would have lost his work permit. I survived the first Intifada, 1987 to 1993. in which Israel killed more than 1,300 Palestinians and injured thousands. I was lucky I escaped Israel's bullets and Yitzhak Rabin's broken bones policy. That was not true of my friend Lua Bakrun, then 13, who was chased by an Israeli settler who shot him dead from point-blank range in front of his classmates. The Israeli settler did not want to punish Lua for throwing stones, for Lua did not throw stones. The settler wanted to teach those who threw stones a lesson by killing a kid in front of the eyes of scores of little scared kids going back home from school and a few meters away from Lua's home. His mother's shrieks still ring in my ears. In the midst of writing this, I called my childhood friend and Lua's soulmate and cousin Fadi to check the date of Lua's murder. Fadi was at Shifa Hospital, parentheses, that's the one that we all saw get raided. He informed me that Hania, Lua's mother, had a cancerous tumor and couldn't travel for treatment because of the Israeli siege on Gaza. And again, this was written 2 years ago. It shall pass, I comforted Fadi. It shall pass, he echoed nonchalantly. I can keep going, but it's so beautiful and heartbreaking, and I really hope people read it.
Yeah, I'm gonna put the link. I was able to find it as you was reading it. I'm gonna put the link for those that want to, go to read the full version of this, of the full edit of this, in the description box. So check that before the episode. I'm sorry, the stream is over. Check that after the stream is over. And before closing this and moving on to suggest some more, because I do want to speak to you about a couple of things before the hour is up. But of course, labor and how can labor get involved with the fight against Israel? Because I know you've had a couple of interviews, a couple of articles I want to just kind of talk to you about. But before we do that, just to get back to, I could have put this back up actually. Just to go to another one of the sort of receipts I had of him speaking. There's a phrase that a lot of people have been saying. It's sort of a famous phrase that he said, and I want to play the entire video of that. It's less than a minute long, and also show you his last his last tweet. But I'll read this part here first. Now, this is from Rami Abdul. Important information about Refaat's assassination. And the day before, yesterday, he received a phone call from the Israeli intelligence about locating him in the school where he took refuge. They informed him that they were going to kill him. He left the school. He left the school not wanting to endanger the others, and at 6 p.m., his sister's apartment was bombed where he was killed, his sister and her 4 children. So I just wanted to add that tidbit of information for those, just to know the storyline here. Now let's play this final video. This is one of the famous quotes where he says that a lot of people have been quoting him for, and I'll end this sort of segment on him with this video.
We know that it's very bleak, it's very dark. There's no way out. If there's no water, there is no way out of Gaza. What should we do? Like drown? Like commit mass suicide? Is this what Israel wants? And we're not going to do that. And I was telling some friend the other day that I'm an academic. Probably the toughest thing I have at home is an expo marker. But if the Israelis invade, if they charge at us, open door to door to massacre us, I'm going to use that marker, throw it at the Israeli soldiers, even if that is the last thing that I would be able to do. And this is the feeling of everybody. We are helpless. We have nothing to lose.
That during the interview, That's an actual bomb. That's not special effects, people.